Let's talk to Cleveland's own John Fanta is with us now. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to bring John in after a real quick word from FanDuel. Guys, you know March Madness is here. The first games tip off tonight, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. That is $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. You can even pick who's going to cut down the nets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. We got a winning submitted ticket on college hoops. I've been saving for John Fanta. Our guy Darren out in Kansas City won a 10-part money line parlay that turned $25 into close to $250 on Saturday, picking the winners in the conference tournaments across the country. So if you have a winning ticket, send it in. We'll feature it on the show. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in our guy, Johnny Fanta. How you doing today, John?
Hi, guys. The madness is here. It's time to dance. And, man, that's an impressive parlay. This is going to be a heck of a 72 hours, fellas. It's great to be with you guys.
Yes. John Fanta, guess what? I'm going to just say one word, North Carolina, go!
Oh, boy. Man, oh, man. I'll tell you what. That is a ridiculous situation. You got the chair of the committee, not just a member of the committee. The damn chair of the committee is Bubba Cunningham, and the North Carolina Tar Heels had one quad one win. Now, so did Xavier, and they were included in the field. But Xavier, to me, had more to their non-conference with the strength of record, had wins over teams in the field. North Carolina had two, one of which was against a 16 seed in American. Xavier beat Connecticut. They beat Marquette. They beat Creighton. They blew them out a week before their season ended. North Carolina didn't do anything of consequence for the benefit because all they did was beat UCLA on a neutral floor in December. So think about this, fellas. The North Carolina Tar Heels went the final 2.5 months of the season without beating a single team in the NCAA tournament. Remove the name brand, and they're not included. But because the selection committee chair could, and I don't buy that he wasn't included in the room when they were talking about them. You guys know this. What actual things get done during the formal meeting?
Right.
They get done during the steakhouse dinner at Delmonico's or behind closed doors in the bathroom. They get done, with the phone call when Bull calls Mikey McNuggets at 1 a.m. and says, I want this tomorrow morning. That's where
There you go.
That's true.
There you go. The fix is in.
John, you and I have been in touch all year as I've been, watching every moment of St. John's basketball. So the most heartbreaking moment of the year was when I saw you have them losing to Florida in the Elite Eight for a chance to get the Final Four. And I get it. Florida's probably playing better than anybody in the country right now. I don't love that Florida was listed as the fourth one because I believe St. John's is the number 1, 2. I was hoping they'd be in there with Auburn because Auburn's struggling and whatever. But that was heartbreaking. I was like, my man John is good. He's got to pick the Johnnies. He's loved the Johnnies all year. But he got them losing to Florida, unfortunately. Which I
do have them losing to Florida, but remember, Bull.
Yeah.
Nobody's bracket matters at noon on Thursday. I love giving out the picks. I love making the bracket, but at the end of the day, I'm going to end up looking at this thing on Thursday and going, it's going to get torn to shreds. That's just how this thing's going to go because that's how it always goes. I do think that Florida's playing as well as anybody, and I wish that St. John's wasn't stuck in the same region. But remember, you still got to get to the Elite Eight if you're Florida.
True.
You still got to get to the Elite Eight if you're St. John's. But to me, St. John's is as intriguing a story in sports right now. Here you have a 72-year-old in Rick Pitino with the old school mentality of I'm going to discipline my players. I'm going to be hard on my players. What he has been able to do in coming into this job, and his players say it's refreshing for them because he can do some things at the age of 72 that maybe a 43-year-old who was up and down and now not a proven winner can't do. They play a New York City style. They are up in you defensively. Bull, you know this. They play a throwback
Love it.
That's their DNA. They guard you the moment you get off the bus. They are gritty. They rebound the heck on the ball. I am convinced that Rick Pitino could get hired by the Browns and coach them to a 12-win season.
He probably could.
He's that amazing of a motivator. I think he's on the Mount Rushmore college basketball, and I would put him in my top 10 coaches in sports history.
Jeez.
Any sport. That's how good he is. He's won 884 games. He's taken 6 different schools to the NCAA tournament. He's won 5 conference tournament championships at 5 different schools. More than 5, but he's won conference tournament championships at 5 different schools. And he's made the Final Four with 3 different schools. He could win on Mars. He could give Bull and me to only lose by 20 in a 2-on-2 game.
John, I got him all because I can't, obviously in Cleveland, I'm not talking about St. John's very often, but you said something that I'm going to try. Ohio State's not in the tourney. We got Akron,
Boo.
and we'll root for Akron, but I'm going to try to get the fans to root for St. John's if they're playing anybody except Akron, because as you said, they play, if you love 80s, 90s basketball, especially 90s. If you like the way the Knicks played and the Heat played, all these tough physical, you want to see defense, you want to see ball going to the basket and dunks, you want to see teammates that love each other and play hard for each other, and as you said, defend from the moment they get off the bus till the moment the game ends. No better team than St. John's for that.
They outwill you. They
Yep.
shut you down offensively, and then eventually they start to score. They've got a wing named R.J. Lewis. He had 29 in the Big East Tournament final victory over Creighton, 27 of which came in the second half. They settle into a game at an elite level. It is a great story. And you look at the West, Florida's playing as well as anybody, as we said, with Walter Clayton, an All-American, an elite front court, Alex Condon, Thomas Hogg, Ruben Chinyalu. Texas Tech's gritty as well there, you saw. And Maryland's dangerous under Kevin Willard. He's done a very nice job there, but it's going to be tough. I mean, Florida is my national champion. They are the best team in the country for me. What Todd Golden has done with this program is he's found depth. They're top 10 in offense and defense. They limit what you do offensively so well. They did it against Tennessee, and they out-Tennesseed Tennessee. Rick Barnes typically is the coach that has rebounding and toughness and physicality. Florida out-rebounded Tennessee by 14 in the SEC championship game. But let me give a message to Cleveland right now. I want to tell everybody in Cleveland something here. Mikey, do you mind? Thank you, Michael.
I got you.
I want to tell Cleveland, you have the NCAA tournament coming to your city here this week.
That's right.
That's 8 teams. This is a wonderful showcase of Cleveland, Ohio, in a town that showcases a bunch of great events. We've hosted so many big-time sporting events, big-time concerts, rock hall inductions, conventions, all of that. Cleveland, I know you're going to put on a show for the teams that are coming out here, and my first college basketball memory actually came in Cleveland, Ohio, when Wake Forest, led by Chris Paul, met Kevin Pittsnagel, Mike Gansey, in West Virginia in a double overtime game that Gansey, now the Cleveland Cavaliers general manager, played in and won. Somebody's got to ask him about that this week, because Mike was part of a legendary NCAA tournament game at the Wolstein Center, and all these people from Olmsted Falls came over to the game. What's my point? If you're a parent out there watching this show, if you're somebody that's giving thought to going to the tournament, I promise, go. It is a one-of-a-kind sporting event because the madness is real. In Cleveland alone, New Mexico's dangerous as a 10 seed. Marquette's got a stud in Cam Jones. You could watch Mark Sears in Alabama. I think St. Mary's Vanderbilt's one of the best games in the first round. And oh, by the way, Cleveland, Tom Izzo's in year 30. He's in year 30. He's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he'll be in Cleveland, Ohio ever again as a head coach. It's a chance to watch him perform greatness. He's done an unbelievable job at Michigan State. The tournament is awesome, and if you're in the area, find a way down there.
You talk about madness, John. Let's talk about the Akron Zips. I mean, they got Arizona in this first round. How can they get it done? Can they get it done? Does Akron have the talent? I know for the past couple of years, they've been really pushing it, trying to get on. Oh, man, hold on. What you got?
Got it.
I've got the Zips. I've got the Zips winning this game. And I'm going to tell you why. I think they play a top 20 tempo in the country. So there's nothing easy having to go up against them, as the B-roll package shows. This team gets up and down and will not be fazed by Caleb Love and Arizona's backcourt. That's the key to the game to facing Arizona. You can't get overwhelmed when their explosive guard talent starts to take off. Akron doesn't get fazed by that. Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley won't rattle them. Nate Johnson, Tavari Johnson averaging a combined 27 points per game. Tavari shooting close to 40% from three. Kid is a stud. And Isaiah Gray is a really good complementary guard as well. They don't rely. The key to an upset, you got to knock down some perimeter shots. You can't over-rely on one player. Akron doesn't. They're very balanced. They average over 80 points per game. If they can box out the Arizona big man Tobe Awaka enough to hang in, then I believe John Gross has a team that can capture the upset victory. Arizona has struggled mightily in the NCAA tournament in recent years, underperforming. I don't think Akron's going to have to battle some crowd out west where they're going to get rattled by the Arizona crowd. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think that this is a game that the Zips can win. I think John Gross is one of the best mid-major coaches in the country. And the Akron Zips, because of the amount of problems they can cause for an opposing defense, they can really score the ball effectively. They have Cinderella's slipper in hand, and I think Akron gets it done.
Let me ask you a question. We talk about Cinderellas and the slippers and all that good stuff. Hey, give me some names of some individuals that could be the C.J. McCollums, the Steph Currys, the guy that come, the Antonio Gates, the guys that come out of nowhere and become a household name by the Big Eight or the last 8 teams.
Elite Eight.
Elite Eight, whatever they call it.
I got you, G. Bush. Here you go. Here's your name. It's a tough name. Don't say it 3 times in a row.
Okay.
Aniwaniwa Tate Jones.
Nope.
Of the UC San Diego Tritons. He's a D2 transfer, went to school in Hawaii. Now he's of UC San Diego, who has 30 wins. They're just in year 5 in Division I. Wow. Doesn't this say March Madness magic? Relatively new to D1, not a big known nationally. Aniwaniwa Tate Jones is a kid who can make a huge mark on this tournament. He's averaging 20 points per game, around 5 or 6 assists per game. I think that he could be a guy that when it's all said and done, we're talking about. How about John Poulakidis of Yale? Another kid averaging 20 a game, absolute bucket. Yale knocked off Auburn in the tournament last year. I believe they will knock off Texas A&M this year in the first round. I've got them pulling off the upset. I like the Bulldogs. There are a number of others. John Tonje at Wisconsin could have a Steph Curry-like tournament. He is coming off of a rough performance against Michigan in the Big Ten championship game, but I really like Tonje. Tomorrow night, for you Ohio folks, Xavier is in the first 4 down at Dayton. Xavier and Dayton, they used to be bitter rivals. They still are. They don't play anymore. But Xavier has a guard named Ryan Conwell. He's got some 2 Holloway to him. The Xavier fans out there can appreciate that. They're going to meet Texas tomorrow night. That's a big game. If you're an Ohio college basketball fan, tomorrow night your madness already begins. There's a slew of them, guys. I think Donovan Dent in New Mexico versus Cam Jones in Cleveland. Cam Jones of Marquette. That's one of the best guard matchups in all the country, and Cleveland, Ohio will be hosting that game.
You know what? I'm going to pass this to Tyvis. That was actually supposed to be a gag joke. I did not know you knew all 3,500 Division I schools.
Man lives, eats, and breathes college basketball.
What I don't understand,
that's
John,
wild.
is that you know all of this stuff, but you don't understand that a filet is better than a ribeye. That's amazing.
A filet is not better than a ribeye. You out of your mind?
Hey,
that's
I'm talking to John.
That is
I'm talking to
patently
John.
wrong.
As the
Two things here.
Go ahead, John.
Number 1, living in New Jersey ain't cheap, as evidenced by these W-9s.
He pulled the W-9s.
There. And number 2, Tyvis, a filet might be better, but for this subject matter, it's a ribeye, buddy.
Now listen, John,
he know it. He knows
John,
it.
myself, and G. Bush
You know it.
are big guys. Tyvis, you are skinny. Nobody's trusting your taste in steak
What?
over me, G, and John.
What do you mean?
We know steak better than you. You're too skinny to know good steak.
That's preposterous. Just because I'm skinny, I don't
Yes.
know steak.
Eating all them chicken
Only
steaks.
skinny people like filet. Who likes filet? You, Jay.
Tyvis,
Not skinny
McNugget-
people.
Look,
Yeah,
ribeye all day.
At least Mike's one skinny person that knows how to eat like a fat guy. I mean, come on.
Tyvis, you know what it is? Tyvis, if you and Jay called and asked me out to dinner, and then Bull and G. Bush called and asked me out to dinner, I'm calling Jay back and saying, Jay, I'd love to hear your story again about the return of LeBron, but I'm going to dinner with
He knows where it's at. The man is smart.
He even knows the story he can tell.
Jay, I'd love to sit and talk with you about Baker again, but I'm going to get myself a ribeye, buddy.
One of them aged boys.
We'll go to Peter Luger's, you know.
And we're not stopping with the ribeye. We're grabbing some potatoes au gratin and some cream cheese.
Damn right.
All the fixings.
That's right.
And you know you live
We're loading it up.
You know you live in New York. Them steaks don't come with sides. Them sides
you gotta
is
pay
not
for everything
included.
separately.
Bread costs.
G-Bush, you don't even get to go to the restroom without having to pay over here.
Right.
They charge you to use the facilities out this way.
John, we got to wrap it up with the most important question. The Cavaliers have lost just 11 basketball games. They have, 14 left or 15, Mike?
15 left.
15 left. The Cleveland Browns have lost 14 games this year. Will the Cavs become just the second NBA team ever to lose less games than their football counterpart in the same year?
Why not? I'm going to say yes. I'll vote yes because the subject matter speaks for itself. It's an amazing season and ride. Kenny Atkinson has been the best coach in the National Basketball Association. I know that they lost to Orlando over the weekend. Maybe they drop one more than the Browns, maybe because of the end of the year and getting some guys some rest. But I don't know. This team is wired differently, guys. The acquisition of DeAndre Hunter was huge. I love the way Darius Garland's grown as a player. I just think the Cavs embody everything that's right about how you run an organization. They do it the right way. They treat their fans the right way. And you know what? Cleveland, buckle up here. I'm going to tell you guys right now, out here in the New York area, these people are very concerned about the Cavs in the East and their ability to win the East. Even Celtic fans, for the first time, Boston Celtic fans have been saying to me, yeah, I am definitely concerned. After that Cavs comeback in Boston a couple weeks ago where they fell behind by 20 in the early moments of the game and showed their toughness, all I'm saying is this. Buckle in, because the dream of a parade is all real. This team can do it, and I think we're in for a heck of a spring.
All right, before you go, real quickly, who's the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns week 1? That was cool.
Yeah.
He was like, man.
Wow.
Put him on the spot.
Wow. I am going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders.
Man,
Great
so the
answer.
Shedeur
Like that
Sanders
one.
train is
We
rolling
like
through
that. Great
reluctantly.
answer.
Reluctantly.
System quarterback. I know he doesn't. A lot of people love Cam Ward the most because of the improvisational, and I don't disagree with that love, right? And I think that Cam can throw a ball that's special. But Shedeur did not have an offensive line at all, right? And he still found ways to make it look the right way offensively. And I think that Kevin Stefanski is enamored by the idea that he can execute in a system and with some composure, with some construction around him. I think this kid delivers a great ball. He's definitely not as creative as Ward, and he's more of a pocket presence, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the skill set to have success in the NFL. And, a couple weeks ago, I went on another show talking about this topic, and I'm sure I love coming on your guys' show. I'm sure we'll talk again sometime soon. But, the one thing I'm going to say about Sanders is, when people say upside, and I've heard draft analysts be like, yes, Sanders is probably more ready than Ward. Well, if he's more ready, what happens when upside never occurs? What happens in Chicago this year if Caleb Williams comes out and we keep talking about upside and we're not seeing it fully turn the corner? So before we always talk about upside, I'm 29. I've been hearing about upside for 27 years. And what, it hasn't gotten us to a whole lot of places. It's been a lot of concepts and maybes and what ifs and Mike Holmgren and Tom Heckert and all those press conferences through the years of, well, we're going to reevaluate and that's a bunch of crap. You pick on results and you go and get your guy. And if it's Ward, I'll be happy. If it's Sanders, I'll be happy. I just want my quarterback. I think the position's too valuable to not take it there. Because if you don't have that question answered, then what does it matter?
Speaking of upside, John Fanta reaching his upside every day, unlike a lot of the quarterbacks. The reason John Fanta is so great, it's the 3 Ps. This is true. The 3 Ps, when it comes to play-by-play guys, there's 3 Ps. And not many broadcasters have all 3 Ps. John does. Personality, professionalism, passion. There's some guys that have only 1, some guys that have 2. There's a lot of good play-by-play guys out there, but there's not many that have all 3. He loves the sport, college basketball. I don't know anybody that loves it more than him. He's a total pro, and yet he's not stiff because he's got a great personality. Whoever you work with, you seem to have great chemistry with everybody. And then the extra bonus is that he's from here, so we love him even more because he makes the people of Northeast Ohio proud because he's one of us. And, John, I'm not just saying that because you're here. It's totally true. I love watching. Whenever there's a St. John's game, I text John. I'm like, are you doing the game? And if he's not, I'm disappointed. Even if it's Gus Johnson or Rafferty who are great, but I want to hear John do the St. John's games because I love hearing him call games. Continued best of luck. You're the best, John.
That really means a lot, Bull. I grew up listening to you.
I'm old.
And I still watch your show. And you know what? It's the truth. I mean, I called into your show as a fan back in the day. I mean, if as a regular person, working during the summers, I got to tell you guys, I am so proud to be from Cleveland, Ohio, to grow up on the west side. And I think I think the town has this characteristic. When you grow up the way that Clevelanders are raised, blue-collar city, right? Unbelievable voices. Rest in peace, Jimmy Donovan. Tom Hamilton. I'm going to tell you guys quickly, Tom Hamilton calls me a couple of times a year now just to say hello.
That's awesome.
That's the voice of the Guardians.
Yeah.
And he's all class. All class. And if I could have dinner with anybody, I would sit down and have dinner with Joe Tate because I'd love to hear his stories of the Cavs back in the day, the late, great Joe Tate, wham with the right hand. And I think for me and I think for a lot of people in our town, you want to do your parents, your family, and your city proud because everybody always says to me over here in New Jersey when I take them back to Cleveland, they're like, everybody's so kind. I say, well, that's the character of our town. I'm proud. I am so proud to be from Cleveland, Ohio. And that's why I love joining this show. And anytime we get to talk, because that thing's never going to leave my heart. That's Cleveland. That's our city. That's who we are.
John, we love you, buddy. We got to have that meal. We got to go out for that meal sometime.
We gonna get a strip. Can we compromise on a strip steak?
No. We don't do New York strips.
Tyvis, I'll compromise on a strip steak if Jay pulls out that ESPN black card that I know he still has and he pays for it.
I'm with you on that.
He'll do it. We'll get Jay on that. John, we'll talk to you later, buddy. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Love you guys. Thank you very much.